Mr. Krent, are you familiar, as you indicate in your opening statement, about these allegations related to Vice President Biden?
I am.
And to your knowledge, is there any factual basis to support those allegations?
None whatsoever.
When Vice President Biden acted in Ukraine, did he act in accordance with official U.S. policy?
He did. The Vice President's role was critically important. It was top cover to help us pursue our policy agenda. The Vice President was promoting U.S. policy objectives in Ukraine.
So Joe Biden was participating in an open effort, established whole-of-government effort to address corruption in Ukraine.
That is correct.
Deputy Assistant Secretary of State George Kent repeatedly testifying today that despite whatever Rudy Giuliani might be trying to sell you for a nickel, Vice President Joe Biden did the right thing when it came to his dealings with Ukraine when he was vice president, unlike some other people who we know trying to do dealings with Ukraine right now. Today was like a double-barreled problem for the president, triple-barreled maybe. I mean, number one, the president's behavior was nailed down by important witnesses to that conduct. Also, it was put in the context of how dangerous the president's behavior was for our country, how much the thing he got caught doing in Ukraine to try to benefit himself was at the expense of America's serious national security interests. And third barrel, forgive the metaphor going awry, but a bonus, there ended up being lots of testimony today, including to the Republican hapless committee counsel who was trying to take this in a different direction. Ended up being lots of testimony today about how actually Vice President Biden did nothing wrong in Ukraine. Indeed, quite the contrary. He was key to America's rational national security and foreign policy work in that country and was part of a whole of government effort. None of that is good for the argument that's been coming from President Trump and Rudy Giuliani and all of the other dwarfs. I mean, whether or not this leads to the president's impeachment and the White House and the president's supporters in Congress are still not only fighting that, they're still trying to use this scandal to slime former Vice President Joe Biden ahead of the 2020 election. That turns out to be amazing. And for those of us watching at home, I mean, alongside that, there's the fact that it turns out the Democratic presidential field for 2020, even as of today, is still not settled. NBC News and others reporting tonight that Massachusetts Governor Deval Patrick is about to join the Democratic presidential race for 2020. According to the New York Times, he plans to enter the race tomorrow morning and then head to New Hampshire State House to fill out paperwork to get himself onto the primary ballot there. And so even as the president's being impeached for this scheme, which he was setting up to try to dirty up Joe Biden for 2020, even as that's happening, still the Democratic 2020 field still growing. Another reminder that the news is not going to let up on any front anytime soon. We'll see you again tomorrow night. Now it's time for The Last Word with Lawrence O'Donnell. Good evening, Lawrence.
Rachel.
We're happy to have you back.
Thank you very much. And Deval Patrick, at least, won't be one of those presidential candidates who is tied down as a juror in the Trump impeachment trial in the United States Senate, if that's what January is all about.
Seriously. I mean, just the impeachment hearings right now in the House are already stacked up against, for example, the Democratic debate next Wednesday, which is going to have two impeachment hearings that day. It's going to be nuts, man.
But, you know, look, America's going to watch the hearing, and then they're going to watch you moderate that debate. That's the way it's going to work.
Kill me now.
Okay. Thank you, Rachel.
Thank you, Lawrence.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.